Snaps come in handy for that.
Yeah, right?
Just go this.
Alright guys, please welcome Cristina and Mela. Can we shut the door at the back? Anyone here? Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. Good. So, welcome to New Zealand.
Thank you.
Is that your first time here?
Fifth time here for me.
Fifth time, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, so, what do you think of it?
It's like a second home. We wrote our last 2 albums here, so it's very inspirational.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Is that you recorded your albums here?
Magnolia Memoir, we recorded probably 3 or 4 tracks off the last album at Roundhead in Auckland.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Have you got a chance to see much else of New Zealand apart from Auckland?
Yes, definitely. We went down to, we all went down to Hobbiton, which is clearly a fair indication of what's in New Zealand. Gorgeous, gorgeous, and then some more gorgeous, and some green, and some gorgeous.
Cows and sheep, and it was nice.
Yeah, we have cow selfies and sheep selfies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And is this your first time?
My first time.
Your first time, right. And have you got any tips for her? Any tips for her?
Tips. Oh, me?
Yeah.
Honeycomb Tim Tams.
That's right.
People don't bring them, but that's the jam. And
Really?
we just had somebody give us the Tim Tam bites.
Yeah, those
Those
are
are
good.
kind of genius.
I'm from here, I've never heard of the honeycomb Tim Tams.
They're genius.
Yeah.
They have them in Australia, and they sometimes have them down here, but they're pretty.
They sound pretty good.
delicious. Yeah.
Have you got any plans for the rest of your trip here? Are you guys off soon?
Christine's flying out tonight.
Oh, really? Oh, so short and...
We're doing a series together, and she actually has to record. What is it, tomorrow? When you run?
It'll be Tuesday at
Yep.
home. But when I leave tonight, I'll be arriving home at 3 p.m. on Monday.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense sometimes.
So-
Yeah. We are pretty much at the bottom of the earth, and you've gone back in time, and then you go forward in time, and you've looked in the future like for 2 days, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, we skipped Back to the Future Day.
We did.
Did you? Oh, that's
We were there.
that's alright.
October 21.
There was
We
no
time,
Back to the Future.
yeah, we time traveled on Back to the Future Day.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, we'll just open up some questions from the audience. If anyone has any questions, put your hand up and I'll come over with the microphone and... Do we even need a microphone? You can probably hear.
Did you two bring CDs that we can purchase?
I did. Right behind you, Alexander has them. I'm glad you guys are all filming, so I can say we bootlegged them in here. We found out that the CDs are actually, when they're imported physically into New Zealand, somebody's selling them for like $40, $50. So we brought them for 10. Alex has a few. I think we have like 20 CDs left. We'd love to help you out with that. And some free vinyl stickers. And what's great about those CDs, like I said, we came here 2 years ago, and Alexander, my writing partner's here. We were at Roundhead writing a song, and we needed a bridge. And so we went separately, and I wrote a bridge, and he wrote a bridge. We had to see which one would work, and none of them worked. But we put them together and labeled it Odds and Ends, and that literally became our single that you see on YouTube with Will Forte and Doris Roberts, so it's Odds and Ends. That was written here in Auckland. We recorded No One Like You, which is the big ballad. We just wanted to demo it, but it ended up being so gorgeous and inspired that it's the actual track on the album. So lots of New Zealand inspiration on that kind of fire album.
And I don't have any CDs right now. But my first EP is going to be out next month in the US, and it'll be exclusive to a streaming service called Viewster. I don't know if you guys have that here. Do you, Viewster? Yeah. But after 6 months, I'll be able to release it on iTunes, and I'll make sure that it's worldwide. And next time I'm here, bring some physical copies.
Yeah. And 6 Degrees of Separation, like what a small town it is. We both do games with someone named Jason Charles Miller, and there is an artist, Billy Ray Cyrus. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but Alex, my writing partner, orchestrated Billy Ray Cyrus's last album and plays on that album. Worked with Jason Charles Miller because Jason Charles Miller is now producing Billy Ray's new album, and he's producing her album. So it's like all of a sudden, from all corners of Los Angeles, we're all actually working together.
And he gave my first review of the album. It was This sounds like the Jackson 5, but it was too weird to be released. So I'm very excited about that review. It was exactly what I was going for. No, that was for a track of mine called Centipede.
No, but who gave the review?
Oh, Jason.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks. We have little postcards and stuff too if you want to stop by after.
Hi. Oh wow, I just went blank.
We've got all the time in the world.
Yeah. What do you like about being voice actors and voicing different animated characters?
So, what I love about being a voice actor is one that I've always loved animation. I've always wanted to be part of it. I thought I'd be an animator when I was a young kid. But I knew that my path would always lead to animation. And also it fits in with my personality really well. And I love that I don't have, your work schedule is really highly flexible. And so you can, have a lot of free time. And that's time I really need to develop my craft and to work on myself. And I'm really grateful that I get to work in an industry like this.
I remember growing up, I was in a military family, so I moved almost every year. And so although I liked to sing or I liked to do those things, I would usually come in the middle of the year after tryouts or, the choir was sort of set. So I loved math and science, and I used to kind of sing in the bathroom and do character plays by myself or something. Which sounds totally sad now, but I entertained myself. I was an only child and I moved a lot. And I took a voiceover class and I got discovered and started doing a little bit of voiceover but still did banking and worked in the nonprofit sector. And when the banking industry had kind of a hiccup in 2007, I also got cast as Reen in Fate Stay Night and started to get introduced to music and more voiceover. And at that time, I was kind of out of a job, so it wasn't like I was trying to choose one over the other. I was super thankful for any kind of work. And I was scrubbing toilets at the Stars for $15 an hour, and I was catering and parking cars and doing some voiceover. And people were like, well, what's that like? I'm like, well, it's amazing. I'm not scrubbing a toilet. Because sometimes when you're out of work, you just have to take whatever you can get. And that was 7 years ago. And what was amazing is that it was once a month, and then it was 2 or 3 times a month. And I was always so grateful for the work and the kind of people I got to work with. And it's kind of like a second childhood. And I don't know if anybody here has to take a job in the service industry before you get to the job you really want. I don't know how it is here. In LA, you'll have people serving you, and they're like the director of the Sundance film that just won last year. But it's a difficult business. And so I was super grateful, and the next thing I knew, I was making a living. So what's it like being a voice actor? I'm driving onto the Warner Brothers lot or the Sony lot, or I'm working on Gotham right now, and I walk by Ellen's stage, and her car, and her dress, every day when I work on that set, and I feel like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. I won a golden ticket, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I get to do this, and we get to fly to places like New Zealand. And it's not why we did it, but it's a wonderful job. It's creative. It's magical. You have friends. I moved a lot, so I made friends, but I never made lifelong friends. And it's been 7 years now. I've been in the voiceover industry. And speaking of Jason Charles Miller, I was in a pretty horrific car accident on April 14th in 2014. Someone was distracted, perhaps texting, and they ran a red light, and they broke my back. And I woke up in the hospital, and it was Jason Charles Miller and Joe Capoletti, my director for ADR, and Yuri Lowenthal and Tara Platt, and so voice actors that were in this spine center at Cedars-Sinai, helping me to get better and encouraging me. And so the job is amazing, the travel is amazing, but the community that you see, on screen, or what you hear, or what you're reading about, we really are a tight-knit community. And I'm pretty proud of the fact that we have great fans and we're all friends together. Any other questions?
Yes. Mela, you've been here obviously like so many times now. What do you always look forward to when you come here in New Zealand?
Her question was that, I've really been fortunate enough to be here several times. The first year I was in a show called Vampire Night as Yuki Cross, and I was doing Comic-Con, which was basically my first convention. And I was so thankful for the work, as we were talking about, but very busy. My grandmother had just passed. I was trying to make money to support my family, and so I was grateful for the work, but wasn't aware that I'd be at Comic-Con, and on the bags was Yuki Cross, right? And then I got this phone call from someone who said, would you like to come to Australia and New Zealand? Like as if I go, hold on a minute, let me think about it, And it was so magical and wonderful, and I was shaking, and I remember the first person that came to ask for autographs, and she's like, I'm so nervous, and tears came down. I was like, me too. And it was wonderful because 16, 15, 14-year-old Mela, who felt so different and kind of out of place, because I moved so often, I used to just be quiet and sort of try and figure out how to blend in. And I feel like I'm getting a second childhood, and I get to grow up. And like Lysandra, I met her 3 years ago, and she's this gorgeous girl who sings, and I was like, thank God she's at least 10 years younger than me, because I think she won't take over my career. But it's like this class reunion, so I get to come back. I have Marin over here, and I have like a New Zealand sister, and Lysandra's growing up, and we get to catch up. So, coming back to New Zealand as a music artist, it's a wonderful reset. But as a human being, like outside of voiceover, I've literally gotten to grow up in voiceover and in New Zealand, and I choose this as my high school years and my best childhood, and I'm so happy to see everyone and to meet you guys again. I can't wait to come back.
Next question. Hello.
Hello there. What would be your favourite anime role, or the one you really enjoyed putting effort into?
Favorite anime role? I really enjoyed Homura Akemi from Madoka Magica. And we did this series, and it was one of my first lead roles, and that was a few years back. And that was great. It was a great learning experience, a great way to, I really feel like I learned how to act for anime in that show. But then we got the chance to go back and redub it all for the movies, and I had a few more years of experience under my belt, and I'm just really proud of the work that we did for that show, and that I got to be such a complex character. So I think that she's my favorite at the moment, but Sailor Mars is a close second because I grew up watching Sailor Moon, and I'm really happy that I get to be part of that show.
Oh, it's funny you should say, like, getting to redub. Reen from Fate Stay Night was one of my first leads in anime, and that was back in 2006, 2007, when I was still a banker. And I wasn't a banker, I was an analyst. Like, I did some really goofy, nerdy stuff, let's be honest. And so, it came from a game, and it's been so underground that, recently for Fate Zero, I got to reprise my role as Rin Tosaka, and now Ufotable has done Unlimited Blade Works. And so it's interesting to see that in the very beginning of my career I got to be Rin, and now we're returning to this landscape with gorgeous animation, music, and it's not just that that's taken a step up, I've been able to take a step up and really explore that character, and I love all of my characters, but right now I'm in the middle of Unlimited Blade Works, and it's neat to see that growth as an actress where you love a story so much, and you're able, with your skill set having grown, to give it more, because it deserves so much more. I'm so excited about how anime is permeating the the community worldwide. It's not such a niche. And I think it's important because of the kind of storytelling. She sits like this all the time, signing. She's that adorable. I play Reen, she plays like all these adorable characters. Speaking of which, we play sisters.
Yeah,
Like-
she told me, I didn't know we were sisters because she never tells my character that, so I don't know. But she told me, I was like, what?
Yeah, so Rose and Maiden, she's my sister.
Right.
In Fate Stay Night, I'm Reen, and she's my sister. And we have a new series coming out. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about it yet. Are we Ladybug?
Yeah.
We can. And she's the lead in Ladybug, and she literally looks like the character, like in stretchy pants, who could rock them like her. And I play the adorable, which is unusual because she's usually all squeaky and adorable, but this time I get to be squeaky and adorable.
You know, I get to play squeaky and adorable, but most of the time they're also psychotic, which is a great, which I appreciate. I appreciate that I get to play those characters.
Yeah. And ironically, I play Prissy a lot. Yeah. Prissy, Catholic schoolgirl who has to save the universe. Prissy, Victorian doll. Prissy, vampire. Prissy didn't know she was a vampire, but she is a vampire. That would be Yuki Cross.
She's a vampire?
Oh shoot. Spoiler alert. Somebody didn't watch season 2.
I didn't. I only saw season 1. Oh my god.
Thanks a lot, Mela.
7-year-old spoiler or something, right?
No, but it's funny. You do start to see patterns. Apparently I'm really good at playing Prissy. Who knew?
That's funny. And we're talking about, like, I always play the purple-haired characters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we have Homura, Kemi has the purple, Sailor Mars has, like, the purple sheen in her hair, Sakura is purple, just a ton of purple characters.
Yeah, I'm usually a brunette. Shinku and Rachel Alucard are blondes, but the running color in my characters is red. So Shinku had a red dress. In Vampire Night, black, white, red is that color. Blaze blue, black, white, and red. You know, Reen has my actual Catholic school uniform. I had that uniform from my school. It's a red sweater and like a gray-black, skirt. So I was like, yeah.
Pictures? Yeah.
How would you compare? Oh, okay. Go for it. How would you compare like voice acting and doing music, singing? Because I know like both of you kind of do it, and then I know Cristina kind of sort of combined the two with like Shantae's Dance Through the Danger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, let me see if I can form a coherent answer to this. I started singing as kind of an extension of voice acting. And so that's how I've always kind of treated it. If you see, because I have my YouTube page and I have.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Just an announcement for the event which we'll be having today. From 3 p.m. to 4:30, we have animation signing at Hall 1.
That's
and
us.
Also
Jubilee!
and at 3 p.m. Power Rangers. If there's any questions, please just come over to the information desk. Thank you.
What was I saying?
Extension to your...
Yeah, my YouTube channel, but all the songs that I really enjoy singing are from show tunes, Disney, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's really because it's part of myself that wants to express through music. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'd really like to hear Mela's answer.
Okay.
Maybe I'll hear.
Well, I was one who, I don't know if you guys ever have been to high school or college and you had a mean girl. Anybody? You know, the one that had all the money and the lessons and was in the pageants or sang a lot. And I was not the girl that had voice lessons. My mom was busy saving the planet. She just wasn't.
Ladies and gentlemen, could you please come to the information desk as soon as possible? Thank you.
Oh shoot, who was it? Like, who? She's like, it's so super, super, super important. I won't repeat the name. If you didn't hear it, sorry. And so, for me as a voice actor, I was kind of living this great life, and my father died when I was a little girl. And I'd always wanted to visit my father's family, and my mom had sort of moved on. And when I visited them in Louisiana and Mississippi, they were very musical. Like people playing guitars on the porch, And it was so inspirational to me. I thought I would love to record some of these songs that were coming. But I was not a professional, so I was like, I'd like to record the songs, give them to my father's family, and then apply to law school and get a real job. And I met Alexander Burke, and he's like, these are really good. And I thought he was just being polite. And we put together a really great band to record. I wanted to do like a live recording. And well, I said I had $1,500, which to me was a lot. He thought I said 15,000. So he's like, oh my gosh, Justin Timberlake's guitar player is in. I've got the Manhattan Transfer and John Schofield, like he's like the most famous drummer ever. And I was like, oh, great. And he's like in the studio, and Bruce Springsteen's this, and Aretha Franklin's this, and you know, it's only like $5,000. Yeah, Cynthia, not happy. Richard, if you're in here, it's time to go. I'm sorry. You know, when they use the first name of moms, it's like, it wasn't like, Richard, your mother's looking for you. Your mother, Cynthia, wants you at the information desk as soon as possible. So it was this wonderful experience, and then and Alex came over to my house, and I kept my bedroom furniture, but there was kind of nothing else in the house. And he's like, what happened to your house? And I was like, I had to sell everything. And he's like, we're so under budget, what's going on? I was like, I only had $1,500. But it seemed like, when would I get a chance to play with this caliber? And it was a gift from my father's family, so I kind of went for it. And as a voice actor, we're on mic all the time. And I didn't understand that a lot of singers who've sung all their life haven't sung in a studio. But my only experience in front of a mic was in a studio. So it wasn't nervous. And as voice actors, you learn not to be, you get really quiet on the mic. You learn how to breathe away from the mic. You don't breathe. So there are all these things that I didn't know that I had naturally in my wheelhouse. So I went in and I was able to sing, but I didn't get nervous in front of the mic, and I didn't smack or breathe or, knock things around. And I didn't know what I sounded like before. Apparently a lot of times when people have sung all their lives and they get in the studio, they're freaked out by what they sound like because it's not what they thought. Well, I didn't know what I sounded like. Because when I met Alex, you can ask him, I'd be like, here's the song. In my dreams, I think of you. I was really quiet, and then when I got onto the mic, I just, really sang out. And I found that the reason why I'm good as a singer is because I didn't get an opportunity to do it. I didn't have tons of lessons. I didn't already know how to do it when I got in there. I just had my art or my message, and I didn't have an ego about it. I didn't expect it to be wonderful, because I'd sort of listened to all those bullies in school that were like, wish you had lessons, or if you had money, we're all going to go to this camp or that camp, and we know this person, and this producer is going to make some big demo for me, and I have 1 million Twitter followers, and I was that kid that was like, I don't even have a phone, But not to be mean or petty, none of them have a singing career now. So sometimes, the message ultimately is you have what makes you extraordinary and special. You honestly don't have to be the best singer, dancer, voiceover artist. You don't have to be the best graphic artist. Whatever your passion is, there's actually enough room in the universe for average. Not that anybody's average, but you have this feeling like the only way I'm ever gonna make it is if I'm the best, if I'm the prettiest, if I'm the thinnest, if I'm the tallest, if I have the most money, if I always know what to say. But look at the people that inspire you in voiceover or on television. They're not the most attractive, they're not the most talented all the time, but you like them. You wanna know about who they are. You feel like you can relate to them. So I would just say take that pressure off yourself of thinking as soon as I get everything right, I'll start. Because I think we all can't take our eyes off of watching people along the way.
I think I sort of know the answer, but when you go and do your voice work and that, do you just do it by yourself and nobody else is there, or is there sometimes when you can have other people there, or what actually happens when you do it?
So for anime and video games, you're usually always by yourself. I can think of one exception, and that was for Ladybug for the first episode. They had us all in. They had us all in together to do a table read for the producers, and that was really something that was kind of like, whoa, what? We're gonna be together to read? Oh, okay. And it was really fun. But unless you're doing original animation, usually, and that's recorded in a group read, they'll try to get as many actors as they can together. But yeah, a lot of the times, like me and Mela have been in so many shows, but this is the first time that we've hung out for, yeah. So, yeah, that's how it is. You're just kind of alone with the director and the engineer.
And she was saying, right, you are alone, and ironically, this is like a time where we get to know each other. Like Cristina and I've never gotten to hang out, so it's really cool. And then we find out how many other shows we've done. Somebody was telling me what it's like to go to a convention. My second convention, I was with Kyle Hebert. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He does a lot of characters, and we were doing a panel, and there was a lot of people, and it was in Sydney. And the question was, this question is for Mela and Kyle. What's it like working together on so many shows and games? And he must have seen this horror look on my face, and he goes, we did all the voices in X-Men together. And he starts to list, because I had no idea we'd ever work together. And I was like, well, funny that you should say that. And that's what I mentioned, is that we're not in the same room. So, you know, it's wonderful to be on a package with those people. But actually, conventions on our end are an opportunity for us to be in the same room and to meet our co-stars. I mean, we want to meet them as badly as you do.
Sometimes you have no idea who's in what show. For Sailor Moon, they kept us so tightly under wraps. For months, we couldn't say anything, and they made it clear, if you talk, then you walk. So everybody was kind of like paranoid about letting it slip. So Jeremy still tells this story. I didn't know she was Sailor Venus at the time, and I saw her, and I said, hey, congratulations, because she'd recently gotten married. And she was like, what? What do you mean? Like, on your wedding? Oh, of course, yeah. So we were all like tiptoeing around each other, and even I went to the studio to record, and Wendy Lee came up, and we were talking, and she said, what show are you doing today? I'm like, oh, just like this little show, you know. She's like, oh, okay, because she's not usually the director, but I walked in, and she was the director for Sailor Moon. I'm like, oh, sorry, I'm doing this show, I'm just not sure I can talk about it. So, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. Like,
hello.
Oh, okay, I'll take it. In regards to like directing and stuff, you've done like voice directing for Skullgirls and also the upcoming thing, Indivisible.
Yes.
Yeah. And like, how does that also compare as well? You know, like what's kind of different, and you know, because you also work a bit with Alex. Alex Ahad. Yeah.
So directing. It was really interesting the way I got my first directing job. I just kind of mentioned it in passing to Alex Ahad, the creator of Skullgirls, that, you know, if your game ever takes off, if you need a director and somebody to help cast, you can come to me. So one day, a couple years later, I get a call saying, hey, Cristina, hey, we need a director, like tomorrow. Can you help us cast this game for Skullgirls? Oh, okay. And it was a very interesting learning experience because I had never directed before that. In fact, I was still in school when it was happening, and I had to skip my last day of school ever to go direct. And you know, it was all just this really great learning experience, how to talk to my actors, what vocabulary to use, and also seeing. Because I felt like before that, I thought that I was the only one who went through certain things in the booth, but then I can see it on the faces of the other actors, and so it's really humbling to know that that's how we are as actors, and yeah, and so to know the words and to know exactly how they're feeling, and to get in the booth with them and to talk to them and to get the best performance possible and to hear their take on it, it's really inspiring, and we had a really great cast for that game. I don't know if you guys have Amazon Game Studios out here, if they release their games. There's this game called Till Morning's Light. It's by Way Forward Games. It's really fun. I think you guys should check that out if you can. So yeah, I'm glad I get to do that as well. It's really helped me grow as an actor. Thank you. I just do that.
Thank
Oh.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Could Bella Anthony please report to...
Bella Anthony.
As soon as possible. Could Bella Anthony please report to...
Mela?
Yeah, I thought it was Mela.
They keep saying that.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
am I in trouble? And who's Anthony?
Oh. I'll be your Anthony.
It is like high school. Will Mela and Anthony please come? And we're like, oh, shoot. Totally busted.
I got in trouble twice in high school for the nerdiest things. One time I wore a Trinity trench coat to high school, and I live in America.
Yeah.
So they're like, Christina, you can't wear that. Like, but it's, like, we know, but still, you have to take it off. Okay. And another time I wore a shirt from English. Have you guys heard of that website? So there are t-shirts that are real t-shirts in Japan. It's just English that obviously isn't right, and it's funny because doesn't make any sense. So I wore one, and I can see why it was bad now, but it said, it says, I hate my life. Every morning I wake up and shoot my head like a rock star. And I thought it was funny. But apparently it wasn't.
After the trench coat thing.
I know. I was a troublemaker.
You should have pulled it underneath the two-feature.
Oh, I would have been bad. But I figure, like, it's not a big school. Everybody knows me. I'm just, like, goofy and theater kid. And no. Anyways, I don't know how we got there, but let's get back on course. Questions?
I know you have at least one.
Oh, hey. Oh, hello.
Yeah!
Christina, how does it feel like playing Ray as Sailor Mars? I mean, she sometimes could be a bit annoying.
Fiery?
Yeah, very fiery. And, you know, as you mentioned before, you're more like goofy and funny. So, how did you find playing as Ray?
So first, when I was recording all those auditions, I originally skipped Ray because I thought, I don't sound like her at all. No way would I get cast as this character. And then on a whim, I thought, no, I should just do it. And so that was the one I ended up getting cast as. But actually, I was cast as her after going back in for a callback for Sailor Moon and Luna. They liked my Luna voice for Ray. I was a little nervous at first because, like I said, that was when I was least confident about playing. But then I realized, no, I'm exactly like her. I mean, she can be a little bit fiery, and I think I can be too. It's kind of weird. Like, the more you get to know me, like, my boyfriend sees that side a lot. But I've played characters like that for the tsunderes. And I was actually really surprised hearing it back how much I sounded like the original from the 90s. And that was not intentional. So it's pretty amazing, and now it's just a really comfortable character for me to play, and I like to see all her goofy moments, and I love when she's really mean. The meaner the better. It's so much fun. Thank you.
Did they sort of tell you when you go for these auditions? Do they sort of tell you what they sort of want, or do they just say, "Go ahead, please"?
They do give you character descriptions, and occasionally they'll give you a voice reference, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, you kind of have to go with whatever your acting would tell you to do. Because there have been times when I'll do what I think they want, and almost never if they give you kind of a voice sample. If you're trying to do what they think they want, you end up not booking it.
Okay.
And so that's like what Cristina was saying. Sometimes you're like, well, I'm expecting that they want this. I'm nothing like that. I guess I'll just do my version. But that's actually what they're looking for, is whatever your version of that character would be. I mean, unless you only have one voice and it's squeaky or something, but really it's what's happening in voiceover right now is really about acting. You know, so you can read about the character and you might give them 2 or 3 different choices, but there's going to be an instinct for some reason. When you see a drawing, it's almost like the drawing calls out to you what it wants. Yeah, lately I've been getting a lot of drawings for prissy, you know, powerful, kick-ass. What have you been getting lately?
Psychotic, she said.
Yes. Oh, well, actually, so I went through like this cycle where when I first started off doing voiceover, I was doing the little girls, like really high-pitched squeaky, and that's fine. And so it kind of turned to like the monotone girls, and then to the deeper voiced girls, and I was at the deeper voice for a while. But now there's a resurgence of super squeaky characters. Yeah, it's just, I don't know what's going on.
Can you do squeaky character for us?
Squeaky character?
Sure. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to meet you all.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Is it the same person?
Yep.
So, thanks for coming.
Yes.
So, when you were first starting out voice acting, who in the industry did you look up to as kind of a role model that you were like, oh, I really love this voice actor, I'd love to kind of, you know, be like me more?
I didn't really know anybody, actually. Yeah. But as I started meeting people and hearing their work, that's when I was kind of like, oh, they're amazing. But yeah, I didn't know anybody when I first got started. I think the first actress I met was Wendy Lee, and I was like, wow, her aura is yellow. Can you see that? You know what I mean? Yeah. And I guess now I just really appreciate, you know, all the people who have been doing it for years and years and who have been able to make a good living off of it. I mean, just a living period off of it for so many years are people I really admire, especially when they're just good people in general, like Mela, and they're just so positive and uplifting, and I think that's what I look for in a person before anything else. So.
For me, I was a lot like Cristina. I didn't really know anybody. I mean, I don't mean to be flippant, but most of the voiceover roles that are famous are guys. And also as a girl, you don't necessarily want to be like somebody else, you know? There's already them, so there's not that sense. And when Cristina and I first got into voiceover, especially in anime, there was kind of a transition happening. So how anime and animation used to be voices, very specific types of voices, not necessarily voice acting. And I think one of the reasons Cristina and I are doing well is because we kind of came in that transition where it was about acting or about, you know, being the character instead of kind of a funny voice. And Alexander Burke, my composing partner for Magnolia Memoir, was a music director for Second City. They do a lot of improv, so he's worked with like Jason Sudeikis and Will Forte and Keegan-Michael Key and, you know, some really amazing improvisers. And what I loved about working with him in music was that
Alright, that's me. Have to go, guys.
But what I loved about comedy is that the women in comedy, like Rachel Dratch, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, and now Rebel Wilson and Melissa McCarthy, they were all these amazingly funny women, but they were so badass in the sense that they weren't girls, you know, and they could do their own thing. And so I was really inspired by the intelligence, and like I could relate to that. I don't relate to being a model or, you know, what I thought Hollywood was. It was so not me. to me, Hollywood was that table I never sat at in high school, but I didn't realize it's actually this table. That's who owns the gaming industry. It's all of us nerds taking over the planet. You're like, oh my God, this is amazing. But that being said, there was this girl, I didn't know her very well. I'd sort of seen a few things, and I did get an audition that I didn't book, but I thought, that is effing badass, because I knew she was young. I'd seen a few directors in voiceover that were females. They're very few. But there was this one girl, she couldn't have been up to me, I thought maybe 22, 23, and she's like, hey, it's Cristina Vee, I'm doing this new thing called Skullgirls, I'd love if you auditioned, I'm directing. And I remember thinking, holy, that's amazing that she would ask, but that, like, I can't even imagine who I'd have to be directing a game or an anime or a cartoon as a woman. And I remember thinking, I want to figure out how I could do something like that. And honestly, she was. And then I found out she wasn't even that. Like, she was literally still in school. That's badass.
Did you ever finish your school?
Finishing school?
Did you ever finish your school?
Oh, she did.
Yeah. But
You just missed
you
the
took a
last day
year
of
off.
school.
You took-
She was like, did you graduate?
Yeah.
Although my dreams would tell me otherwise at night. Does anybody else have that dream where it's the last day of school and you just realize, oh no, I was enrolled in this class but I never went?
Yes. Oh my God, I had that dream too. Where it's like you're toward the end and you're just like, I was in this, I didn't even show, what? Oh, there's no way I can fix it. And yeah.
I didn't have to take the final. Yeah.
Does anyone interpret dreams? Because I literally had that dream quite often.
And the dream about your teeth falling out, I hear, is really common. It's your stress.
I'm gonna start dreaming about that now.
This is great. I love the smaller panels too, because you honestly, come on. Have you guys ever been to the panels? Like, we've been to the ones at Anime Expo, and there's like 3,000 people in a room, and 8 people get to ask a question. You guys can ask us anything, and I think we all get to know each other. Do we have another question or a comment?
Being to all the conventions and everything, what would be sort of like, have you had any awkward, memorable, or creepy fanboy moments at all?
Christina's gonna go first on this one.
Okay, I'm not condoning this at all. This is not okay. Not okay. So I was doing this League of Legends thing, tournament, and there was this guy, he came up to me super shy, very, very shy. You can tell he was mustering up all his courage. He's like, hi, can I please have a picture with you? Like, okay. And so I put my arm around him, and as I'm taking the picture, I feel his hand touching my butt. And I was just in shock because he was so like nervous before, and I was like, you know what? I'm kind of proud of you, in a way. All right then. See you later. But the most disturbing one for me was Anime Expo 2 years ago now. I was in my autograph line. My boyfriend was sitting right next to me, and he was like, "Hey, when the picture, I want to take a picture of your side. So can you turn when we?" I was so silly. I don't know why I didn't question this. So he's like, "When I count to 3, turn to the side, okay?" I'm like, "Oh, sure, whatever." So he does it, and he on the count of 3, I turn, and he tries to kiss me while they're taking a picture. Yeah, and I pushed him back, and I was just, what? No, why would you think that's okay? Yeah. So he got in trouble, and so they didn't have a green room for us that year, which was really, we needed one. And so I'm walking outside trying to find something to eat, and I see the guy, and he's like, "You almost got me in trouble. You know that?" Like,
that's her bring it face, by the way. What?
So that was pretty, I'd say that was the strangest.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I mean, I've been fairly fortunate with fan experiences at conventions, although I now bring 1 or 2. If I'm gonna have a jacket, I'll have 2 or 3 of them. Like, I'll buy 2 or 3. I did have one of my first experiences in Australia, not in New Zealand, but there's a kind of a fan flop sweat that can happen when somebody's like really, 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 really nervous. And so I had to go take pictures in Sydney, and there were these 3 boys, and they all wanted pictures. You know, you paid to take pictures, and they put their arms around me like we were like in a prom, and drenched me with flop sweat. It was like the first time I was like, oh, and then the next one, and then it was like the 3rd one, and they were so nervous and really sweet, but I had been like sprayed, like, and I like took it off, and it was like off my skin, and I put on somebody else's jacket. But from now on, just like if I have a jacket or something, I'll have like a second shrug or sweater just in case. And it's actually never happened again. But all I could think of is like, because I couldn't take it off, I could shake it off, but I had to put it back on to leave.
So my boyfriend still can't get over this, but we were at a convention last year, and it was saying like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Like this. And so they left and went away. And then there was this smell, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I thought it was my hair. I was like, what is going on? It's just so bad. And I take off my jacket, and it was just that part of my shoulder. And and it was there for days. So that was pretty interesting.
But I mean, it's bodily functions, I guess.
Yeah.
But ironically, never happened in New Zealand. You guys have so much organic everything. There's kind of, in general, a very lovely scent about this country.
Definitely.
I mean, even the cows.
No, I was just thinking.
We just had some cow selfies, and they were.
It wasn't at all stinky.
Yeah. I wish you guys could zoom in. We got a great shot of her kissing. Does he have a name? Fredo?
Let's call him Fredo.
Yeah, Fredo the cow.
He's beautiful.
He was pretty beautiful. Yeah, I'm bringing it up. I don't know if anyone can zoom in on this picture.
We'll tweet it.
Can you see that? That's pretty amazing. Cristina Vee, her beauty crosses all kinds of cultural and genetic boundaries. That's my girl right there. And you know, she's like, I wonder if he speaks Spanish. And she says to him in Spanish, oh, I would love to kiss you. Tongue came out, and he was like, I was like, you guys are very educated cows here. The international language of love.
Yeah.
So sweet.
All right, guys, we've probably got time for one more question. If someone wants to. Yep.
Hey, just throwing it out there. Do you think we can get one group pick with everybody in the
That'd be great.
2 speakers for everything? Awesome. I just wanted to ask.
Okay, and just we're gonna put your arms around us. I just want you to do a check first.